Hey, hey, it's Marisa Murgatroyd, founder of Live Your Message and Superhero Summit. So we're back. The superheroes are queuing up for the Author, Speaker, Coach Superhero Summit from November 10th through 21st. And this is going to be our biggest, baddest, kind of most amazing superhero summit ever. And we've got the first two superheroes to introduce to you. Actually, we've got three superheroes to introduce you, but one is called away on a dangerous mission, and they'll be back in about 5 minutes. So first up, we've got the amazing Christian Mickelson, and Christian is a legend in the coach field. Like, I remember seeing Christian from stage 5 or 6 years ago, and he's been building and helping coaches build their business for a long, long time. So I'm really, really excited to introduce you to him before moving on to Dave VanHoose of Speaking Empire, who is also a legend at helping speakers kind of craft a business around themselves and get booked on more stages. And then we'll move on to Melinda Cohan of Coaches Console, who is also, amazing at helping coaches build a back office to support their business. So let's get started with Christian, because he's got a lot to share with you today. And before we do, I just wanted to remind you that we are in a live stream in Google Hangout on Air. If for whatever reason your video feed or your audio feed stops, just refresh your browser, and 9 times out of 10 that solves the problem. We've also installed a live chat box to the right of the video, so just log on with Facebook, Twitter, whatever you want, and start commenting away. Just tell us where you're from, kind of who you are, and we'll just do a little bit of call outs to you guys in the audience. Give us a like, give us a tweet, share this with your friends, and make sure if you want to be informed when Author Speaker Coach Superhero Summit goes live, right below this video, there's a way for you to sign up to get the update. So this is our 5th Superhero Summit that we've done, and collectively we've brought about 50,000 people trainings from the world's superheroes in building online businesses and marketing themselves to really kind of get their message out in a massive way. So remember to sign up below so you can get the latest as soon as we go live with the Author Speaker Coach Superhero Summit and the lead up to the event. So Christian, tell us a little bit about your backstory as a superhero and how you started to help coaches around the world to build their business. How'd you get started?
Well, I got bit by a radioactive spider. Actually, I was a supervillain was bullying me at work, and I had started a business that wasn't going anywhere. I was in a relationship that wasn't working, and I was out of shape. And I was at a job I hated, and that supervillain was giving me a hard time at work every day. And so I reached out to a superhero, my first coach that I ever hired, and within 9 months I had stopped that bullying at work, and I left that job. I was able to work for myself full time. I was out of that bad relationship, and I was in the best shape of my life. And so that was the beginning. And then what happened was I had this business now that I was working on, but it wasn't something I was super passionate about. And I started thinking, wow, maybe I could do this coaching thing. I'm like, well, who the hell am I to coach anybody? I was 25 years old at the time, so, what do I know? Why would anybody hire me? So I had all these limiting beliefs I had to work through. And but then I decided to give it a try, and I got 6 clients in my first month as a coach. But even though I got off to a rocket start, it was a really big roller coaster ride. For the first couple of years, I was falling behind on my mortgage, and then I would catch back up, and I'd fall behind. I got myself $72,000 in debt, and then one day I was taking out the garbage, and I just remembered thinking, like, wow. Like, I'm working so hard for so little money. I'm doing what I love, but not really that much of it, because a lot of it was all trying to figure out how to get clients and not necessarily working with the clients. And I was just feeling really burned out, and I was taking out the garbage, and I just thought, man, maybe I should just quit. Maybe I should just become a garbage man. And a lot of people laugh at that because it sounds funny. I don't know why, but it was really a low moment for me, because I felt like, wow, at least I'd get a steady paycheck, And the most I'd ever made at a job was $35,000 a year, and I just felt like if I could make that kind of money as a coach and do what I love, I didn't have big aspirations. I'm like, just universe, give me this $35,000 a year. And I was talking to my best friend Sean, and he said, you know what, you can't quit. You've got to stick with this. And then I made the decision that, you know what, I'd rather be homeless I'd rather lose my house and my car, but be able to do what I love than to keep paying the bills, but do something I wasn't born to do. So I decided, whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. I started reading a book every week. I committed to reading a book a week. I read a book every single week for 36 weeks straight. I just started trying out everything that I could. I was reading personal growth books like the Four Agreements, The Mastery of Love, Dan Millman's books like Way of the Peaceful Warrior and Laws of Spirit, Deepak and Wayne Dyer and all those guys, Tony Robbins. But I was also reading lots of business books and all that general business advice. I would try to see how I could apply it specifically to coaching, and I would try this and try that, and so many things didn't work, and some things did work. And eventually I figured things out, and I was able to make a good living as a coach. And then all of a sudden, I had 5 coaches hire me to help them grow their coaching businesses, and I was able to help 4 out of 5 of those coaches grow their business to over $100,000 a year. I was able to help them do it within 18 months. One of them did it in 72 days, and that's when I realized that all the things that I figured out through struggle and trial and error and trying things and testing things, I could share those with other coaches, and they could achieve success way faster than I ever did. And so about 10 years ago, I just decided to dedicate my business to just helping coaches get clients. And now I've helped over 100,000 coaches all over the world with my trainings, and I've helped tons of coaches get lots of clients and grow 6-figure, 100,000 plus businesses, multi six-figure businesses. I've helped people do it even faster than 72 days. Had people do it in just a matter of a couple of weeks, from 0 to 6 figures or over 100,000, and so that's my story.
Well, that's pretty amazing. And what were you doing before you jumped into this entrepreneurial journey? What was your job?
Well, I was working for TDK, and a lot of people know them because they used to make cassette tapes,
Yeah.
But they actually make magnetic chips that go in every single electronic device on Earth, and so they're a manufacturing company. And so I worked for their North American headquarters, and being that they were a Japanese company, at least this was 15 or so years ago, if you weren't Japanese, you basically didn't do anything. So I got paid to do pretty much nothing all day, except I had to create these spreadsheets in Excel and then just give them to people, and that was it. I had this nice title, but I really didn't do anything. And then I learned how to create a macro in Excel, and I was able to actually get my whole job done in 5 minutes. So then I just sat in front of my computer all day and died a little bit every day.
We totally understand that. And now you're helping, you said hundreds of thousands of coaches around the world on a regular basis. So it's a phenomenal journey from, being a spreadsheet pusher to having this business that influences hundreds of thousands of coaches every day. And what was for you was the big mindset shift that, started you on your journey?
Well, I was just really immersed in personal growth, and I saw that people were able to do it for a living, and I thought, man, I would love to do that. So that was really the first step, and then really the surrendering of the money, which really wasn't about the money, but it was about I had all this shame wrapped up in if I lose my house. Well, and plus it's extra tough if you're a success coach to not be successful. So I'm like, oh, if people found out that I lost my house and I'm trying to help them be successful, I had all this shame wrapped around in it, and nowadays, losing your house, it's like, oh, it's the mortgage crisis and the predatory lenders and the bad housing market and all that stuff. But back then, 12, 15 years ago, if you lost your house, it was because you were a dumbass, So a lot of that, letting go of that shame and just surrendering to the, whether I make money or not, if this is what I'm born to do, this is what I'm going to do whatever it takes. Those were some of the big turning points for me. I had this whole fantasy. I don't know if you ever watched Kung Fu, the TV show Kung Fu, when you were younger.
No, I think it was before my time.
Well, I watched it in reruns too. But it was this show with David Carradine, and he was this peaceful, loving guy, and he would roam the earth, and he'd go from, people would take him in, and help him out and give him food, and then some big crisis would happen, and he'd have to solve all the problems with kung fu. And then he'd go on to some other town. And I imagine, all right, well, if I'm going to end up being homeless, maybe I'll just go from town to town and solve people's life problems with coach fu, you know?
Coach fu, got it.
Yeah, so I didn't actually end up having to do that, thank God, but I think just the surrendering was huge. And then also just drawing the line in the sand that I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm like, if worst case scenario I made peace with, but I'm going to do whatever I have to do. Those were some of the big mindset turning points, I'd say.
Awesome, awesome. And so for all of the coaches who are listening, all the coaches who are going to come out for the Author Speak Coach Superhero Summit in November, what are some very specific kind of actionable cutting-edge coach food technique that they can use right now to start building their business, getting more clients, and getting paid what they're worth so they can actually have the transformation in their client's life that they know they're they're capable of? Yeah.
So what most coaches are doing is they're trying to go out there and they're trying to get clients. They're trying to find clients and they're trying to get clients, What I would really recommend is to turn on your superhero powers, flip the switch and make yourself so irresistible that people are coming after you, that clients are swarming you to give you money for your coaching or your consulting or your healing or whatever kind of work that you do. And a lot of that comes from learning to speak the language of the clients. As coaches, consultants, and healers, we are so inundated, we're so in our own world that we speak a different language. And clients can't understand it. And generally the language we speak is the language of our tools, the language of our process, the language of root causes. Like, we are so good at seeing what's really going on for somebody, so we'll talk about how this deep stuff is screwing up their lives, and then we talk about the deep stuff, but that's not the language of the clients. And the language of clients is the language of results. So you want to learn how to speak the language of the clients and talk about what it is that they all are already hungry for, what they're already dying for, what they're already dreaming you could come into their world to help them with. And it's all the same stuff that you already do, but only it's using their language instead of our language. So that's one of the hugest breakthroughs that I'm going to share with you. And then I'll also, that's one of the hugest breakthroughs I want to share with you right now. And how much more should I go into what to share now and what we're going to talk about later?
Give us something juicy. Like, give us an example of the difference between using kind of my deep, profound, soulful language and something that's going to resonate with their clients, so they can kind of see how it works and how juicy it is.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say you help people reawaken. Let's say you help people heal a broken heart. Or let's say you help people release past trauma from childhood that's keeping them from being super open-hearted and really loving in the way that you want to love and have a great relationship, or those kind of things, right? Well, number one, most coaches, they might talk about their process, or they might just talk about, having that they offer a free, no-obligation coaching session or something like that to explore working together. And what I teach people to do is to package that kind of work that you do, and now instead talk about how you help people, like you'll help somebody, maybe you offer a free session, and your free session will be the Find Your Soulmate Now coaching session, where you'll work together to create a crystal clear vision for the kind of man you'd like to attract and the kind of relationship you'd like to have together. You'll uncover hidden challenges that may be sabotaging your success with men in dating, and you'll leave the session renewed, re-energized, and inspired to finally find the love of your life once and for all. So instead of just offering a free strategy session or a free consultation, you're actually branding your session. You're naming it, you're branding it, you're packaging it up, and you're making it super enticing. So when people hear it, they're going to be coming after you and chasing you down the block and be like, help me, help me, help me, can you help me? So that's one example of these kind of things that we're going to be going even more in depth on in our presentation.
Awesome. I think This is super, super powerful because I think 80–90% even more of people go out of the gate with this message that doesn't relate to their audience, and everybody's so in love with what they do that it's hard to see. It's like, how come everyone else isn't as passionate about this as I am? But as humans, like, we want to solve problems, or we want to move away from pain, or we want to move towards pleasure, and we need that so what factor to even listen. So what you're really talking about is helping people find that so what factor. So your message actually inspires people to say yes to working with you. And that's one of the most important things you can do in your business before you do anything else. Because if you don't have that down, it's like you're wasting a lot of time and effort in activity or marketing or trying to sell products that don't end up selling. Is that right?
Oh my God, you nailed it right on the head. And there's so many, one of the things that's so important is that we've got to really get out of our world, and we've got to go into the client's world so that we can start speaking their language. We got to walk around in their shoes. We've got to see what it's like for them to be struggling with their pains and challenges. We want to help so bad, and we can see, this is another thing too, is like we can see what the root cause is, right? So maybe the root cause of relationship problem is that there isn't honesty in the relationship. We're hiding, we're being secretive, we're afraid to hurt the other person's feelings, and so this is a huge problem in relationships. So then, a coach might be like, oh my God, this is so important. Once I started, doing radical honesty, or I started doing something, like, that's the cure. That's the cure. Well, that may be the cure, but people aren't talking about the language. Like, people don't hear the language of the cure. If you just started saying, hey, I'm going to teach you how to be totally honest in relationships, people are going to be like, well, okay, so what? Like, maybe I want to, maybe I don't. I don't even know if that's something I want to do. But if you start talking about how, like, I'm going to help you attract a great relationship, or I'm going to help you turn the relationship you have and renew that passion and get back to a fresh, brand new, passionate, loving relationship, like that, now you're talking about the juice instead of the seed or whatever. I don't know what, but so when we can talk about the results that people want, like if you're and the more you can get into the world of the client, the better. And clients are looking for specific things. If they want to lose weight, or they want to grow their business, or they want to find a career that they love, or they want to turn their child's bad behavior around, or they want to become a better leader, or they want to sell more stuff. The more you can focus on the results that people already want, and then you can take your superpowers, your super healing, your super consulting, your super advice, your super coaching, and you can apply that directly to those results. And now all of a sudden people start making more money in their business, or they start turning their child's bad behavior around, or they start healing their relationship. And those results, first of all, when you speak their language, you're going to attract people to you. You'll be swarmed by people wanting to work with you. But also you'll command way higher fees, because people don't pay for coaching, they pay for results. So when you talk about results and you're going to help people get a result, it's like, oh, I don't know how much I would pay to learn how to be more honest in relationships. Maybe $100, $200, if I am interested, right? But when you can help people, avoid divorce, get the passion back in your relationship, or you can help people lose all the weight and keep it off forever, or you can help people double, triple, or 10x their businesses, now you've got a tangible result that you can sell that is worth $10,000, $5,000, $10,000, even $100,000 per client.
Awesome. And tell us what you're going to be sharing, because I know you've got a presentation on the Superhero Summit. It's actually going to be on Wednesday, November 19th at noon Pacific. So if you want to hear Christian, and I definitely recommend that you do, definitely mark your calendar for Wednesday, November 19th at noon Pacific. And all our superhero presentations are going to be at noon Pacific. So share a little bit about the name of your presentation and what you're going to be teaching and why people should come out. What are the results of your presentation? Show us in practice what you just spoke about.
Great. Well, I know we just tweaked it, so let me tell you what it is now. All right, here it is. It's how to get swarmed by tons of clients dying to give you big money for your coaching, consulting, or healing work by using deal sites, JVs, Facebook, and special presentations. And so what that means is, I have people inside my programs right now that are like, help me. Like, I need coaches to do some of the coaching for me because I've got too many people to work with myself. And they're using a lot of these different strategies that I'll be sharing with you, like deal sites, JV partners to promote your coaching. One of my clients got 20 clients of his own in his first 30 days working with me by partnering up with a JV partner. And there's ways to do that specifically to just have people promote directly your coaching. Another one of my students in Australia got 326 paying clients to pay for an introductory coaching session with her, partnering with a deal site like Groupon or Living Social. And you want to do it in a very specific way, which I'll be sharing with you on that call. And then also you can get swarmed by clients on Facebook and social media sites. And you can also, one of my clients went from $0 to $15,000 a month within 2 months of us working together, using LinkedIn actually. So and lots of my clients are getting clients on Facebook and social media without having to do ads, without having to like do crazy, posting constantly and all that. We just cut straight to the chase and straight to the clients. And then also from public speaking, you can practically fill your entire business from doing one talk. We'll be sharing with you how to do all that stuff on this special training. A couple bullet points is a breakthrough new way to literally get dozens or even hundreds of new paying clients in just a few weeks. The 3 critical success factors for making big money as a coach, consultant, or healer. And 5 specific ways to create a client swarm anytime you want one.
Excellent. Well, what you're talking about is super, super important, whether you're a coach or a speaker or an author, which is how do you fill your practice? Whether you're selling consulting, whether you're selling coaching, whatever it happens to be, how do you get people into your business to begin with? Because if you don't get them in, you're not going to have customers and you're not going to have clients. So you're really sharing some super vital lead generation or client attraction techniques to, turn on the floodgate of clients in your business. So if you want to learn more about that, then mark your calendar now for Wednesday, November 19th at noon Pacific. And remember, right below this video, there's you can leave your email address. So you'll be sure to be on the list and get all the updates for the Author, Speaker, Coach Superhero Summit as soon as they come out, including our next 2 pre-summits where you get to meet all our characters and hear a little behind the scenes about who they are and where they came from, which is one of my favorite things to do, and you don't get that on the summit. So thank you so much, Christian. Really, really excited to see you turn out live and everything you've got to share with people, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, so next up we've got Mr. Dave VanHoose, and Dave is weighing in and representing the speakers here in the audience. So we've got a lot of speakers, and there's so much. The reason why we put the Author, Speaker, Coach Superhero Summit together is there's a lot of cross-pollination between these 3 verticals, between authors and speakers and coaches. So a lot of coaches write books and give talks. A lot of speakers want to write books or sell coaching and consulting, and so we put them all together because we know that learning all of these skill sets can give you the kind of diversified, multi-channel income stream business that gives you more freedom in your life. And that's what it's about. It's really enjoying yourself and being able to make the impact that you want by getting out there in a bigger way using lots of different channels. So Dave is a master at showing people how to craft presentations that really sell and how to build a business around themselves as a speaker so they can get booked on lots more stages. So Dave, tell us a little bit about your superhero backstory and how you became, the speaker superhero that you are today.
Well, I'm just honored to be here with everybody. And my backstory, actually, I have a backstory. And in a moment, I'll share with you what that is. And in fact, Marissa, I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And at a young age, I always really had a passion about helping people. And so I got my degree in sports medicine, moved down to Florida, and became a professional football trainer. And so I got to travel the world and be on ESPN TV. And I got to train superheroes and, big football players and strong athletes. And until one day in 2003, I actually broke my back in a sports injury. And I'll never forget that moment where I went to an orthopedic surgeon, and I'm sitting in his office. And the doctor comes in, and I could barely sit or walk at that time. And he put my MRI, my X-ray on the board. And I'm like, Doc, what's wrong with me? And imagine that. He goes, Dave, he says, he looked at the MRI, he says, you've got a broken back. You've got a pars fracture of L5-S1 with a herniated disc. And I'm like, well, Doc, what does that mean, right? And he says, I'll never forget the words out of his mouth. He says, Dave, there's nothing I can do for you. I'm like, what do you mean there's nothing you can do for me? I'm 29 years old. I'm in perfect shape. I can't even sit or stand anymore or walk. And he says, nothing we can do for you. And then I told him, I said, Doc, I want to get surgery. I can't live my life like this. And he says, well, I'm not sure the surgery's going to work. So long story short, I got this surgery, which was a spinal fusion. They cut me to the anterior part of my stomach, moved my organs out of the way, and they screwed my back together and fused the spine. And I woke up from the hospital paralyzed the next day in so much pain, thinking to myself, what am I going to do? And for me, I put my whole identity onto being a professional football trainer, and now I wasn't. And I was catastrophically destroyed in total fear. I'm like, what am I going to do next? What kind of career am I going to do? So long story short, I left in a wheelchair, and I went down to the courthouse in Clearwater, and I saw a foreclosure auction. Saw them bidding off houses at the courthouse stuff, Marissa. And I saw them bid off a house for $100. But when I was down there, I had this idea. What if I took these foreclosure listings and put them onto a website and call it foreclosuresdaily.com? So I took my credit card out, and I launched this business, and it was going to help people save time, energy, and money. And Marissa, guess how many customers I got the first month?
0.
0. I thought if you had a good idea, customers would show up. So I did what most entrepreneurs did, is I made the product better, and I launched it the second month, and guess how many customers I got?
0.
So then I had to find out something very important, which is called customer acquisition. And I used what most business owners did, is they used the 6-foot rule. You know what that is?
I don't, but I probably wouldn't be qualified.
Anybody within 6 feet from me, I tried to sell them my membership community. And I remember at one time, I'd rather goggle razor blades than ask somebody for $99. But long story short, what we started to do is we did a seminar. We did our first seminar at Denny's restaurant. I handed out tickets and postcards, and I got about 12 people to our education-based seminar. And I had a speaker come up and present the message, and he sold our product, and we made $2,000. So this was a hit. So seminars were a cash cow. So, and one of the things I want everybody to understand is when you start your business, cash flow is like oxygen. And until you have cash flow coming into your business will die. And so we started doing more and more seminars, and in fact, I'll never forget, we did our first $1 million in 1 month. We're doing all these seminars, we're having these speakers come in. And after we did that $1 million, I'm sitting in the boardroom, me and my partner were like, yeah, we just made $1 million, we're rich and all this. And our controller, Monster, our accountant comes in and goes, what are you guys doing? And I'm like, we just made $1 million this month, our first, 7 figures. He goes, dude, did you guys look at the P&L statements? I'm like, the P and what statements? And because I was a football trainer, and we looked, and guess what our profitability was? 0. And so I learned a big mistake. It's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. A very valuable lesson. I want everybody to notice that. So me and my partner were looking at our expenses, and we looked at line 37. It said outside speakers. And I'll be talking more about how to get in the speaking business and the cuts and all the numbers. And when you're speaking from stage, the speaker will take 50%. So the promoter gets 50% and the speaker gets 50%. So we had $500,000 that went out. And so my partner's like, man, if we didn't have these outside speakers, if we had our own speaker, we would have made $500,000 in profit. And I'm like, yeah. And we got to create our own product. And I'm like, yeah. And he looked at me and goes, you're the one. I'm like, me? I'm not the speaker. I'm a football ex-trainer. And I went into absolute fear. And I came up with every excuse and story that I could. But then I stopped myself and I said, you know what? I accept the challenge. So I knew that speaking was a learned skill set. So I want everybody to understand that. Nobody's born with a microphone in their mouth, right? Tony Robbins wasn't born with a microphone in their mouth. It's a learned skill. So I went to a training. Get this, Marissa. I went to this training. I come back from the speaker training, and my partner's like, so, Mr. Speaker, how was your speaker training? And I'm like, okay, it was pretty good. And they're like, by the way, we booked your first gig. I'm like, well, where is it at? They're like, South Carolina. I'm like, well, when is it? They're like, tomorrow. I'm like, tomorrow? We didn't even have our product completely finished yet, which I'll share people in a moment on our training, that how you can pre-sell your product. And they didn't have a presentation. So the next day I go to the airport and I fly to South Carolina. Our market manager picked us up and took me to this VFW hall. And imagine this, I'm sitting in the car, it's dark out, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I got to do this presentation. We don't have our product, I don't have a nice suit, I don't know my present, I'm not a speaker. And I'm sitting there going, please God, let there be a fire, right? Let there be a tornado. And as I did that, I looked up and my market manager's looking at his big eyes. He goes, dude, are you going to be okay? I was pitch white. So long story short, I got up on stage and I got introduced and it was like, bam, time stopped. And I got into that moment. I'm sharing my story, how I did my first real estate deal. I'm sharing of how I had to reinvent myself when I broke my back. And I said, everybody get up right now and go to that back table. And they did. Right? And I made $40,000 my first time speaking. Mm-hmm. So long story short, I went back flying an airplane. I listened to a lot of personal development. I'm listening to Tony Robbins on the plane. And he's like, you know, this is Tony Robbins. I wasn't the best speaker in the world, so I spoke 4 times a day, 7 days a week. So I told my partners, I want to master the skill of speaking from the stage. Not speaking, but speaking to get customers from the stage. There's a difference. And I spoke twice a day, 5 days a week for 5 years. I did 3,000 presentations. But long story short, I took my company from starting on my credit card to Inc. 500 on the Forbes magazine as the 35th fastest growing company in America. All because of learning how to speak from the stage. And that's one of the things that I want everybody to understand in their business is you got to really innovate your business. And I innovated my business by not selling one-to-one, but selling one-to-many. And that's the things I'm going to be talking about during the training. So long story short, I own a company now called Speaking Empire. And Marisa, you know, I train all the top speakers in the world, people like Tony Robbins' son, people like Robert Allen, all the top speakers. And what I do is I teach them the presentation and how to become not a presenter, but a term that I created called a presentainer. And I'll be showing people what a presentainer is and how you can become a presentainer.
Awesome. So how do people get started? Like if they're getting started in their speaking business or, you know, wherever they are, if they haven't quite made it to where they want to go, what is one very specific kind of actionable strategy that they can start using right now to see results? Just before, there's like 2 months between now and the summit, they're like, I want to go, I want stuff now. So what's something that's going to help people now?
Well, that's a great question. So first of all, when I work with speakers, I say you're not in the speaking business, you're in the customer acquisition business. And the reason you're speaking is the benefits. You get instant customers, instant cash flow, you can build your brand, you get to raise your prices. So I think first of all, you got to get very clear of what is the strategy behind speaking. And what I mean by that, speaking can be a lot. You could be speaking on a Google Hangout like we're speaking, on a webinar, or from a stage. And so real quickly, most people want to speak to get customers. So I'm assuming that there's a lot of coaches and a lot of authors and speakers that want to speak so that they can get customers. So one of the easiest strategies to do to instantly get is always look for joint ventures, JVs. Now the biggest thing you've got to consider in your business is ask this question: who is your ideal customer? And then when you know what that is, then you ask the next question: who's got the list of them? And how can I communicate with them and do a joint venture, a strategic partnership where I can speak on their stage on a webinar and then speak to sell and split the profits 50-50. And that is the easiest way to 7 figures in this business.
Excellent. And what are like 1, 2, 3 criteria of a good joint venture partnership, or what to look for, how to find those?
Well, I think great joint venture partners is one, is a lot of people get confused on short-term strategy. And a lot of people turn and burn. But you want to understand this is a long-term strategy, is building relationships. building value for people. And very few speakers have professionalism and truly work on long-term relationships. And so if you can just make yourself a professional of showing up on time, building value, following through, having a product or service that betters the planet, then you'll have no competition. And so I think that's one of the easiest ways. And if you're looking to get on stages, there's a lot of great strategies that I'll be sharing with on the training at the summit of my 5 easy strategies of how to get on more stages.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit more about your training and what you've got in store for our amazing superhero audience.
Oh, man, we're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, let me just say, first of all, Dave is going on Tuesday, November 11th at noon Pacific. So if you want to see him, make sure you mark your calendar and remember to sign up below so you get information on his presentation. Now it's all for you. Tell me what you want to share.
Well, what I'm going to teach to show people is what very few people on the planet know, and that is how to become a presentainer. I see a lot of speakers out there that are professors or presenters, but there's a difference for a presentainer. And what a presentainer can do is captivate the crowd, get them so engaged that literally at the end of their presentations, they don't walk, they run or dance to the back of the room to buy your product or service. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do. And in fact, you see me a lot of times speaking from stage. At my event, I'll basically tell people I've got a bag of air, and it's $12,000. And tell people what I'm going to do, and you will see people run to the back to give me $12,000. So I'm going to be teaching that art.
Excellent. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing your presentation. I'm starting to do a lot more speaking from the stage than I ever have before, and you are really the master that I've learned a lot from already. So thank you so much for coming out, and I look forward to your presentation in November.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun. So some of the topics we're going to be talking about is I'm going to be talking about scotomas, presuppositions, stage anchoring. We're going to talk a lot of how do you write a presentation. I'm going to talk about the hot button close, how stories sell, facts tell. So we're going to go over the art and the science of presenting. And really, you're going to be so empowered. It took me 10 years, my whole life work, that I'm going to be sharing on this special training. So we're going to have fun. I
can't wait. And, scotoma just sounds like some kind of skin condition. I imagine it's something that can help me, I think I got scotoma now.
Oh. Well, we're going to have, my background is that I've been trained in NLP and I'm a stage hypnotist. And so what I took is what I've learned in hypnosis and NLP and put it into speaking. And by doing that, you can communicate at such a higher level and influence the crowd with your message. And it's very important to be able to present at this level. And very few people on planet Earth can do it, and these people have a special opportunity to learn.
And what would you say to people who, find that technique controversial, who think that, as using NLP or using hypnotism or using any techniques like this, that you're actually manipulating people? What would you say to them?
Yeah, that is a great conversation that they're having with themselves. And if you're saying that, then you're a person of ethics and integrity. So let me tell you a quick story. So when I first started my business, Foreclosures Daily, there was this moment where I was doing this seminar. And what we were doing is we were teaching people how to buy and sell foreclosures. And so what we did is we found out who our target market was, which was investors and realtors. So real quick, so what we did is we joined the board of realtors. So associations are a great place for you to get speaking gigs. So we signed up for the association. Back then you could get the database, the email database. We would email the people, come to a free foreclosure workshop. They came to the workshop we did. There was about 100 people there. And I'm doing my presentation sharing of how I did my first foreclosure deal and made $42,000. And I said, I want everybody to get up right now and go back to get the Foreclosures Daily system. So what happened was a bunch of people came running back. And this gentleman came back, and his name was Jose. And he was shaking. He was excited. He's like, me, Jose. Me just moved to this country. Me want to become a real estate millionaire. So I give him the order form, and he's filling it out. And I could see, because I'm reading his body language, he's so excited. And he explains to me he just moved to this country, and he doesn't have a credit card, and he wants to give me his last $1,000. So I stopped for a moment, and I made a decision for him. I said, no, maybe this isn't right for you. Because I thought he just moved his country, he doesn't know the English, he doesn't have any money. I made all the excuses up. So I took it back. He goes, no, me want to become a real estate millionaire. And he forced me to sign up. So what happened is he signed up, and I went home that night, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? What kind of business am I in? I used to be a professional football trainer, a therapist who helped people, and I changed their lives, and now I'm in this other business. So what happened is 3 months went by, and I used to keep track of who became the millionaire and who didn't. And I've asked the question, why? Which I can tell people why people get success and most don't. And then I'm reading a book by my friend Brian Tracy. So I call my dad up. I'm like, Dad, because he used to work for me. I said, Dad, whatever happened to that client, Jose? He goes, Dave, imagine this. He took the foreclosures daily list. He did 4 or 5 deals, made $325,000. And in the book it says, who are you to be God to determine who can and can't make it? So it hit me. These people are coming to your seminars. They're coming to your webinars because they're looking for help. And these are no different than my therapist patients. So what we got to be able to do is to empower people to believe in themselves, to make a stand, to not live ordinary, to become extraordinary. Because the only person that's stopping anybody is themselves. And so as a speaker or an influencer, as a leader, we've got to use tools and strategies to help empower people. So obviously NLP and what I teach can be used for massive good, but it also could be used for massive bad. So what I would say to people like that is, what's your intention? Are you truly helping people, or are you hurting people?
I muted myself.
Yes.
I was going to say, I love that, because I know in the industries that we're all in, there are a lot of people who are using these tools in a way that is manipulative or is unethical. And so what happens is we get this thought that, hey, as an ethical person, I've either got to sell out and use unethical techniques to be successful, or, and compromise my integrity, or I've got to kind of do it the hard way. And what you're talking about is a middle ground of being able to use techniques that can be powerful, and it can be used in the wrong way, or in a way that's not ethical, or in a way that's not integrity, but also techniques that can be used to just empower and transform people's lives so they can see a new vision for themselves and what's possible. And that's what you're talking about, and I personally know that you are a man of integrity, and I vet every single superhero that comes on the line to make sure that they are in integrity, because there are a lot of people who aren't. And obviously, at the Superhero Summit, there are villains and there are superheroes, and we live for the superheroes, not the villains. Yes. I had a very special, night vision goggles where I can see through them and determine who are the good ones and who are the bad ones, and you're a good one. And
well, thank you.
I know that you leverage these techniques in a way that just allows everyone to up-level and kind of play in the highest potential version of themselves.
Well, one of the biggest things I'm seeing is that to change the world is in a very tricky place right now. 1 in 3 kids in America, by the time they're 13, are going to have diabetes. We've got obesity. We've got relationship problems. We've got war. We've got so many challenges that are facing the race here, the human race. But the only way I believe to change that is through leaders. Mm-hmm. And one of the big things that Speaking Empire does is we empower leaders to empower the world. And sometimes leaders need to be able to communicate, be able to get their message across. And as a leader, you've got to have a successful organization if you're going to change the world. You can't have a broke organization and you can't get your message out. So that's what we're going to be talking about, is how do you get your message out in a massive way.
Excellent. Well, I can't wait to hear your presentation in November. And just a reminder for anybody who wants to turn out and see Dave VanHoose, he's going to be speaking Tuesday, November 11th at noon Pacific. And remember to sign up below this video to make sure you get notifications on his presentation. So thank you again.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
All right, moving on to the amazing Melinda Cohan. And Melinda, can you quickly show us your superhero figure? Because I got to let people know why we drew you as the woman that we drew you. So from what I know of Melinda, she looks very sweet, and she looks very kind, and she looks very innocent. But she was actually a professional, like Wild West, performer. So if you see her character there, just click the check mark next to the saved preset. If you see her character, we drew her up as kind of like a gun-wielding Western Wild West person. And don't worry if you've got the technical problems, they'll see it later. Because she did that. She went from being a Wild West performer to being someone who helps coaches build the back office of their business. So one of the reasons why we love doing these hangouts, these pre-hangouts before the main presentation and all the training, is I find it fascinating to get to know people's backstories, because it's so easy to get stuck in a story, and I know that I did too, or of I'm this kind of person, or because this has happened in my life. There you go. There she is, the Wild West Melinda. But because this has happened in my life, I can't be successful in this way. But as you can see from Dave breaking his back and then becoming a speaker to, Christian kind of quitting his day job, there's so many different possible realities for you and the success that you can have. And that's why I love hearing the stories in the background, so you realize that kind of all kinds of people become superheroes. And it's not about being born buff, even though Dave actually is quite buff if you meet him in person. Right, Dave? Yes. But you don't have to be born that way. It's just a choice that we each make to step up into this version of ourselves that we imagine, and to have that confidence and to learn the skills and be willing to work hard. And that's why we do these superhero summits, bringing together the top superheroes in their field, so they can show you what some of those strategies are and what their path to success has been. So you can choose to kind of model and learn from them and have this sort of success in your own life. So Melinda, share a little bit about your backstory and how you, became the superhero that you are in the world of coaching, and specifically coaching, setting up a coaching business that's organized in the back end of the business and all the systems and processes that a lot of people don't like to talk about, but that are so fundamental to having a sustainable business year after year. So will you tell us a little bit about your backstory and maybe what we don't know about you?
Well, absolutely. It's so great to be here, and thank you for pulling all of us superheroes together. And just like the others, like you heard with Dave and with Christian, my my Wild West ride was when I was fired. I had my dream job over 11 years ago. I knew I was going to do this since I was 13 years old. I went to school for it. I had my life planned through retirement, loved what I was doing, and then I was fired.
And what exactly were you doing again? Can you share with people in your words?
Yeah, before coaching, I was actually an interior designer, and I worked with corporations and the executives, helping them reach their goals through their space and their team processes. And I loved creating space so that when people, employees, and teams would show up, they would be their best, and they could be their best to get the best results possible. And along the way, I found coaching, and it was like, wow, this is about just the people being the best. So I kind of dabbled in coaching on the side as a hobby because it was just, kind of fit around my existing world. But then I was fired. And I decided that I did not want to go get another job, and I was going to turn my hobby of coaching into a business. But I had no experience. I had never had any intentions of being an entrepreneur. In fact, it took me a while to even own that word. But I made this decision, and at the time, Kate was my coach. I'd been in some of her group programs and was just really getting to explore what coaching was. And I went to her and I said, after I realized I wasn't dead on the side of the road in the gutter without a house and no food and no clothes, and I was like, okay, I think I'm going to be all right here after getting fired. I told her that I wanted to start my own coaching business, and we live in the same hometown, and so she literally brought me like this big pile of papers that she had kind of mushed together, and it was everything she had collected over the 3 years that she had been in coaching herself. And she's like, here's everything you need to start your business. And I looked at that pile, and I remember her attempt to organize it, but it was so far from being organized. And I was like, okay, that's what I got to figure out to kick this off. But I was alone for the very first time, recently divorced, fired. I had responsibilities, and I had to make money fast. I didn't have time to sign up for coach training and go through my training and then get clients and then make like it had to happen now. And so I took that mess of papers that Kate brought me and I sorted through it. I sat down on my living room floor and organized all the information, and it kind of ended up in 5 little buckets or little categories. And I began to get an understanding right from the very beginning. I organized myself from the back end, behind the scenes, before I ever started out. And that's when I began to tap into my superhero powers. I have always loved organization. I've always loved efficiency and helping people and things be their best, whatever they're doing. But this was when I truly realized that this was one of my superpowers. And I organized all of those elements. I grouped them into 5 categories and began to identify the best practices for what it's going to take to actually start a business. I didn't yet know how to market. I didn't even begin my coach training until just a week or so later. And so simultaneously, I was getting myself organized behind the scenes. And that created this solid foundation from which I could stand. And then I launched my coaching business. And in under 6 months, I was well on my way to making $50,000. And I was still not even done with my coach training. And I realized this was something that was unique, because when I looked around at other coaches and entrepreneurs, they were not having that kind of experience or fun in setting up their business. And that's what we're going to take a lot of coaches through. And I speak to coaches because that's my passion. That's the world that I come from. That's where I love working with startup coaches to help them live their God-given potential and their calling in this world, because the world is waiting for them. But you know, it speaks to any kind of service-based entrepreneur, the sequence and the process and the steps that we take people through, because what we have found is that most coaches and entrepreneurs, well, they look at their business like it's kryptonite, like it's their weakness, and it's what desensitizes all of their superpowers, whether they're a coach or a speaker or an author, whatever their superpower is in this world, whatever their calling is, it's usually their business that becomes like kryptonite, because they usually take a reactionary approach through trial and error to figure out how to find their clients, get paid by them, support them. And there's a lot of parts and pieces that it takes just to do all those things that they love doing. And it takes an organized business to yield their superpowers and get their superpowers out in this world. And that's what we love doing, is helping them turn their business from kryptonite into the mechanism by which they can freely pursue their whatever their superpower is.
I love it. And is it true that you were like a Wild West gunslinging, buffalo riding like lady at some point in time?
No, it's not true. That's the dream that Kate has for us. She's always wanted to be that Wild West gunslinger, Annie Oakley kind of person, and she loves that dream so much. I'm quite sure she has us living that reality somewhere. But no, I've never slung a gun. I've never ridden on anything more wild than a great horse. But
that's funny. She actually told me outright. You know, Melinda, she used to be this, and so she must have just literally been like so in love with the dream. And I totally believed her, because I didn't expect. That's Kate, and she's the fun factor of all of this, and I'm sure one day we will, but no, not yet. So Kate Steinbacher is Melinda's business partner, and the two of them will actually be presenting together on the Author Speaker Coach Superhero Summit. So you get kind of double trouble. At least Kate's trouble now that I know.
Yes, Kate is trouble.
Well, she's got a little spark of mischief, and she doesn't look it too. So that's what's going to mislead you. She looks all sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so next question is, what is one very specific actionable strategy that coaches can use now? I mean, we've got 2 months between now and the summit to really start organizing, their back office, getting their systems in place. What's something people can do now?
Well, the first thing that I would tell people is getting organized up front. Ideally, before they ever start trying to go out and find clients and get clients, because once you start putting yourself out there with marketing, different marketing strategies, and trying to find clients, you're now putting yourself in that reactionary mode if you're not prepared. There's a difference between a startup coach or any startup entrepreneur, when they first get going, their enthusiasm it's got them ready to find those clients and make money. But as a business owner, they are not prepared. And that's the first step that I would tell anybody when they're building their business is get prepared. You've got the hat of yourself as the technician, whether you're the coach or the speaker or the trainer, and that enthusiasm has you ready. But the hat of the business owner, there's some things you need to be prepared for so that you're truly ready to receive all that you're about to create through your marketing strategies. And in getting organized, well, the analogy that I use is like a puzzle. Like when you go to make a puzzle and put a puzzle together, the first thing you do is you dump out all the pieces, you flip over all the pieces to make sure you've got everything there, and you put the box top cover right there so you know what you're making. Most entrepreneurs, they throw away the box top covers, and before they flip over all the pieces and make sure they've got all the edges and group all the pieces together, they blindly start trying to build the back office of their business. And it just creates more work for them. And that's where the overwhelm really kicks in. So often we hear people talking about, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm frustrated, I hate this stuff. I hate the back office, administrative tasks, I just want to do what I love doing. Well, the back office is what gives you the freedom to do what you love doing. And when you go at it in a reactionary approach, you're just creating more work for yourself because most of the time, what you do put into place, you've got to go back and redo the work you've already done. So the action item is to get prepared from the beginning. We have what we call the business in a box, which is a little download that we share with everybody. That it's those 5 buckets that I made sitting in my living room floor, and it's the 22 best practices needed to organize and build a solid foundation for your business. When you can know those in advance, now you're prepared for growth, your business can be scalable, and you create consistent, predictable results.
Awesome. And can you share one specific best practice out of the 22 right now, just so we can, have something juicy to get started with and understand, like, what does this look like in practice beyond the kind of theory of it? What does this look like?
So I'll actually share 2 things with you. One of the best practices, just to give you an idea, the 5 buckets that they're broken into, because any business can be broken into the bucket of the elements necessary for the stage of attracting the prospects and your ideal clients to find you and for you to find them. The second stage is engaging those prospects. The third is converting them into paying clients and all the steps necessary that you need to go through just to convert somebody. The fourth is support, providing not just good support, but what we call exquisite client support. And the last one is refer, creating an automated referral engine. And so there's about anywhere from 3 to 6 elements within each of those 5 buckets. And one of those is, like I said, in setting up your business, it begins in the attract stage, right? And so having an educational-based website where you offer a free gift that people can leave their name, and so you can grow your mailing list, and you automate the delivery of that free gift and the follow-up, the marketing follow-up. And in that marketing follow-up, you're including a direct link to your calendar so that prospects, can book a discovery session or a consultation with you when the timing is right for them. So this is just one of the sequences and one of the process flows that we teach in this kind of the back office, the business of coaching. And the key to it all is being integrated. One of the things that we're going to teach in our presentation is the difference between integration and piecemealing. And piecemealing is what most people do because as they go along, they just kind of cobble their business together the best they can with resources they've gathered along the way, and they may or may not work with each other.
Definitely. I love that. And what you said 2. You're going to tell us 2. So what was the second one?
Well, the second one is the integration.
Okay.
Because you can have the different processes, you can have the different elements, but if they're not integrated and all talking to each other, then instead of having that well-oiled machine that's truly automating the back office stuff you don't like anyway, now it's requiring more of your time because you've piecemealed your business together and kind of cobbled it together with different tools and technologies and methods, and now it's taking more of your time to manage it. So you can have these best practices, but integration is really the key that allows you to be the best at whatever it is that you're doing.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. And can you tell us what you're going to be sharing on your presentation at the Author Speaker Coach Superhero Summit? And for those of you who want to come out and see Melinda Cohan and Kate Steinbacher, they're going to be on Saturday, November 15th at noon Pacific. That's Saturday, November 15th at noon Pacific. So share with us what you'll be talking about. And remember, if you haven't signed up below this video yet, go ahead and do that so you get all the information about Melinda's presentation and Dave and Christian and everybody else. So what will you be talking about, Melinda?
We're going to be talking about the truth behind the business of coaching and going through the 5 steps to creating a thriving coaching business. And during this presentation, we're going to be revealing the pattern that a lot of startup coaches and entrepreneurs are stuck in that really sabotage their efforts. One of the things that we hear is, they spend all this time and they're working hard, but they're not getting great results. They're getting minimal results. And so we're going to be revealing the pattern that they're stuck in that sabotages all that hard work and keeps them kind of on that hamster wheel. And we're going to be sending the list, like I shared with you, that the business of coaching map is what we call it, with the list of best practices. We're going to be going through that list of best practices and understanding it's like the box top cover for your business. And we're going to be going through the sequence of what to do first, second, and third, and how to set up your business so that you don't have to go back and redo anything, or to make sure that everything's talking with each other. And we're going to be giving them the step-by-step guidance to get that highly organized back office system in place so that they feel calm and confident. We're going to talk about things like the 3 S's to success, and how most coaches and entrepreneurs do 2 of them, but when they leave this 3rd one out, they just fall on their butt. So we're going to be covering that so that you have this solid business that allows you to flourish as the entrepreneur that you are.
I love it. Okay, great. Thank you so much. And what you talk about is really, really critical to your success, because I can't tell you how many customers you can lose by not having this stuff together, or how much money you can forget to collect. And, the things that are really basic to your business, like customers and revenue and, are important to get right. And it's one of those things that a lot of people sweep under the rug, like you said, because it's like, I'd rather be doing what I love. But this is what allows you to do what you love, and it's so important. So thank you so much for coming out today, and thank you so much for coming to the summit. We're really, really looking forward to having you and Kate, the troublemaker. So just a reminder, I'm a little sore about being misled about your Wild West adventures. But I'll let that one go eventually. You can kind of let her know that I've got a bone to pick with her, and she can expect some kind of practical joke, mischief.
She'll love it, and I will absolutely tell her.
So basically come out on Saturday, November 15th at noon Pacific to see Kate and Melinda talking about the coaching back office, developing that out, integrating your systems. All right, so just a reminder, Author Speaker Coach Superhero Summit is from November 10th through 21st. We're going to be doing, 2 more of these pre-hangouts so you can meet and hear the stories of how these superheroes went from being an ordinary civilian hiding in their houses to stepping forward as the superheroes they are today. And the next pre-hangout is going to be on Wednesday, September 24th at 5 p.m. Pacific. Wednesday, September 24th at 5 p.m. Pacific. And definitely mark your calendars for November 10th through 21st at noon every single day, 12 days in a row. And remember, it's the Author Speaker Coach Superhero Summit, and we really want to give you the tools to step forward and get the clients that you want and book the stages and sell the books so you can get that message of yours out into the world. And that's why we've gathered a whole new lineup of 12 amazing superheroes to really share their secrets and their trainings and specific strategies that you can incorporate right now into your business to see success. So thank you for coming out. Go out there, live your message, and rock on and pleather on is what I say now that I'm wearing pleather as a superhero. So thanks again, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. And in the meantime, I'll see you on the Facebook group. We've got the link in the chat for the Facebook group, and we share a lot of updates there as well. Bye, everybody.